So a sous chef at 11 Madison Park recently got a lot of hype for creating a fried chicken pop-up. It's called Pecking House, which is a play on his parents' restaurant, Pecking House, which is where the pop-up originally operated out of. Now, this thing blew up like crazy, and the waitlist took months, but I did eventually get it, and I had to drive all the way out to the restaurant in Fresh Meadows, Queens, which is, really far. But it was worth it. And recently Chef Wong has publicized the recipe, so I figured I'd give it a try making it at home and seeing how it turns out. To get started, I'm going to butcher a chicken. Now, the chef definitely uses specialty chickens, but I'm just using a run-of-the-mill roasting hen. I'm going to cut off the drumsticks, the thighs, the back, which I'll cut into 2 pieces. There's a decent amount of overlooked meat. That could totally be a nice vessel for breading. I'll slice the breast in half down the breastbone, and then into quarters crosswise. Once that's ready, I'll start making the batter. The first ingredient of which is a seasoning blend that you'll find later on in various parts of the recipe. That consists of 75 grams of salt, 30 grams of sugar, and 2 tablespoons of MSG, which I believe is also about 30 grams. Mix that together. Then we'll add 2 tablespoons or 30 grams of that seasoning blend to a large bowl. 1 tablespoon or 25 grams of garlic powder. 1 tablespoon or 25 grams of onion powder. I don't have onion powder here, but I'm going to use these dried, shredded onions. I'm sure it'll be fine. 2 tablespoons or 10 grams of 5-spice powder. 65 grams of all-purpose flour. 100 grams of Dijon mustard. I'll whisk that all together and slowly incorporate 1 liter of buttermilk. And once it's thoroughly mixed, I'll load the pieces of chicken into 2 bowls, because this actually turned out to be a lot of chicken. Maybe next time I will just use thighs or legs or something, because that little tiny chicken turned into a lot of meat. Then I'll pour over the batter, cover up the bowls, and throw those in the refrigerator to marinate for at least 6 hours or up to 2 days. Once everything's marinated, I'm going to start heating up some vegetable oil to 325 degrees Fahrenheit or 162 Celsius. You want about 3 inches depth of oil here. That way when you throw the chicken in, it doesn't hit the bottom. And while that's going, I'm going to make a dredge. So this chicken is both battered and dredged. That dredge consists of 350 grams of all-purpose flour, 115 grams of potato starch, 110 grams of cornstarch. And I'm not sure what the different properties of cornstarch and potato starch are. Usually I've seen cornstarch as a substitute for potato starch, but that's the way the recipe's written, so I'm sure the chef has a good reason for it. Next up, I'm going to add in a secret ingredient that wasn't listed in the recipe, but he mentioned in one of the many YouTube videos on the subject. It's called Evercrisp, and supposedly it makes your breading extra crispy. So I'm going to add in 88 grams of that, as well as 60 grams of the seasoning blend from before. Be sure to mix that all together so it's evenly incorporated. Then we're going to take the chicken straight from the batter into the dredge. Make sure every side is coated. And feel free to shake off the excess dust before dumping it in the hot oil. Now I'm going to double fry these, but for the first fry we want to get a good golden color on it. Not too dark, but lightly crisp. So for the breast pieces, that is about 7 to 8 minutes. For the wings, that's about 5 minutes since they are thinner. And for the drumsticks and thighs, that's about 9 minutes, since they have bones in them. I'll remove those out when they are nice and golden. Let them rest for about 5 minutes. And in the meantime, you can throw in the second batch of chicken. It's nice to be able to throw in the second batch as the first batch is cooling. That way you're not wasting any time. Now also, between the first and second fry, while the chicken is resting, we gotta make the chili paste that the chicken will be coated in. So into a dry, hot skillet, I'll throw 25 grams of Sichuan peppercorns. And I wanna toast those until they get fragrant. Shouldn't take long, and one good indicator is you'll see little oil spots on the bottom of the skillet. Once those are good and toasty, throw them into a food processor, along with 66 grams of Tianjin chilies. I didn't give these a taste on their own, so I'm not sure what the heat level or flavor is, but you could totally use any medium dried chili. Nothing ended up standing out flavor-wise. Next I'm going to add 10 grams of rice vinegar powder. This stuff is apparently used to season sushi rice. The scent that it gives off is akin to salt and vinegar potato chips. We need 5 grams of granulated sugar, 6 grams of the seasoning blend from before, and then I need an 1/8 teaspoon of this stuff. This is smoke flavor powder. Depending on which kind you get, it can basically smell like hickory smoke or mesquite, whatever kind of smoke you want. And you can definitely smell it through the sealed bag. So I have it stored in a plastic bin, which I will put it back into along with a sealed Ziploc bag so that it doesn't escape and make my whole apartment smell like smoke. Let's cover that up and blend it until a fine powder forms. Now, in hindsight, I probably should have de-seeded the chilies first, but I feel like I remember seeing a bunch of seeds on the outside of the chicken, so I'm just going for it. And of course, you have to taste the chili powder to make sure it's well balanced, which the chef has said is his least favorite part of this whole process. And I agree with him. It's not extremely spicy, but it's just not pleasant. Next up, the liquid for this paste is supposed to be duck fat. Now, I didn't search far and wide for duck fat. I just decided to use these duck rillettes, which is a pressure meat with duck fat and duck meat mixed together. It's sort of like a pate. I'm going to melt that down so the fat renders out, chopping it up into little pieces. And there didn't actually end up being enough fat in this on its own, so I added a bunch of cooking oil to the skillet, which will hopefully absorb all the flavor of the duck. I let that infuse for a few minutes over medium heat, then strained it out, making sure to press out all of the juices. And then ran it through a fine sieve to get out any little extra straggler pieces. While it was still warm, I poured that over the chili powder, mixed it well, and that's our chili paste. Now for the second fry, we're only going to go for about 2 or 3 minutes, just until the outside turns a nice golden brown. And now we got to spread that chili paste onto the chicken. So this is a little thicker than I was anticipating. I did run it through the food processor again, but it still didn't get as fine as I wanted it to. All it means is that brushing wasn't as effective as just pouring the bowl of chili paste over the top of the chicken and rolling around in there. And here's our finished product. Yes, it looks scary. Yes, it looks red and fiery. But all in all, this is a really beautiful, well-balanced chicken. Obviously, in the forefront, you've got that málà flavor profile of numbing Szechuan peppercorns and spicy chilies. But the sweetness of the sugar really rounds it out, and it's all underlined by that smokiness from the smoke powder. The batter itself had that 5-spice powder in it that creates a sort of background earthiness and spice. But the chicken is the real star of the show. The meat itself is so tender. I think the combo of batter and dredge accounts for that, sealing in all the juices. So I know there's a lot of specialty ingredients in this, and it is quite a process to undertake. But hey, if you're planning on making fried chicken, it's already a bit of a process. So I hope you guys give this a try, especially if you can't get your hands on the original.